Let me set the scene. A young lad no older than the age of 12 travels to Hong Kong for a family vacation. Upon arrival, he is immediately swept up by the city's dazzling collision of neon-lit chaos and cinematic beauty. He experiences a collage of towering skyscrapers, misty mountains, and labyrinthine streets. His parents take him to see the enormous Buddha on Lantau Island, the legendary statue of Bruce Lee on the promenade with a perfect view of the city's skyline. And at the end of each day of exciting exploration, they make nest in a snug hotel nestled in the bosom of the crumbling megalodon high-rise known as Chungking Mansions. That kid and his family was me. A bloody brilliant holiday, I might add, one that I'm sure to never forget.
This place is off the hook! I love Hong Kong.
Not only because of the enchanting city, but because of that one fateful night where my brother and I stayed up channel surfing on the hotel TV. After flicking past all the Chinese content we couldn't understand, naturally, we stumbled upon a familiar sight. A football! It caught our attention, and lucky for us, so did the hilarious English dubbing. For the next 2 hours, we were glued to that screen, watching a wildly imaginative, raucously hilarious Kung Fu sports movie, known now the world over as Shaolin Soccer. As a kid who was already obsessed with both Jackie Chan Hollywood movies of the early 2000s and the internationally beloved sport of football,
it's a game played with a ball that is struck with the foot. Hence, football. You see?
this was a fever dream of a movie to stumble upon. As you can imagine, being that age, my exposure to Hong Kong cinema was limited. So I didn't know who Stephen Chow was when he popped up on that screen. But oh, was I about to. The synopsis is as follows. An avid Shaolin practitioner known as Mighty Steel Leg reunites with his Kung Fu brothers to form a soccer team in the hopes to spread the teachings of Shaolin to the world and to help a washed-up coach regain his pride. It sounds ridiculous, I know. That's because it is ridiculous in every way you can possibly imagine, but it works. It's filled with slapstick, parody, homages, and some of the goofiest yet coolest CGI I've ever seen. It was the early 2000s, come on. It's also got awesome action set pieces, badass stunt work, breaking out into song, breaking out into dance. It's got everything.
Oh! China! What league is that?
It's such a quirky oddball story filled with equally quirky oddball and lovable characters. That's why when I watched it way back then, and even when I rewatch it now, I truly can say it's a movie like no other. The mad genius that is Stephen Chow was hit with inspiration from the retro football anime Captain Tsubasa, wherein soccer matches feel like a game of life or death with players doing physics-defying maneuvers. It totally makes sense how the two media are connected when you see dudes flying through the air kicking flaming soccer balls. But let's not be reductive about Shaolin Soccer. For a movie with wall-to-wall choke-up-a-lung comedy, it has a healthy amount of heart. The camaraderie between the brothers is very sincere, the budding romance between Sing and Mui is quite cute, and we all feel proud of Coach Fung when he achieves his lifelong dream. And as for the soundtrack, they had absolutely no reason going this hard for some albeit cool Kung Fu soccer. But oh, am I glad that they did. I find it quite a nice touch that it's a Kung Fu centric movie, but doesn't involve any direct Kung Fu ass kicking like you'd expect. Yeah, there's a handful of times where by proxy they use a football to kick the living shit out of someone. But that's slightly different, and I think me and you both know that. The wildest part is that despite it being marketed as a football movie, there's barely any football in it. No tactics, no formations, no deep dive into the beautiful game. And I just think that's hilarious. It plays like a tongue-in-cheek reversal of those retro Hollywood flicks where the token Asian character existed solely to do kung fu. No personality, no backstory, no real purpose beyond kicking a few people and vanishing into the background. But here, Stephen Chow takes a predominantly Western sport, strips it of all of its attributes, and cranks up the martial arts to 11. Is it just me, or is anyone else trying to find out where they can learn some of that suction iron stomach? Don't ask me why. The bottom line is, whatever you think this movie is gonna be, it's not. Whatever tropes you think it might follow, it won't. Will you still enjoy it thoroughly? You bet your sweet ass you will. Because of moments like when this random bystander's love of dance erupts into a public dance number, or when a wrench falls out this guy's shorts, or the random ass poses they strike for emphasis, I think. Oh, and you can't forget the Shaolin Kung Fu song. With The Matrix coming out in '99, the world of computer-generated imagery in movies changed forever. Chow's previous films relied heavily on practical effects, like wirework and camera trickery. But with Shaolin Soccer, he was determined to get CGI involved to help translate the exaggerated energy of this film. Nearly half of this film's $10 million budget was spent on CGI. And not for no reason. There's some fairly impressive CG moments. My favorite being the freeze frame awakening they have in their practice game.
Black Beatles in the city, be back immediately.
Of course, a lot of the VFX are choppy and definitely show their age, but honestly, that just adds to the comedy of it all. There's even a few moments where it's purposely terrible. But even with the addition of CGI, Chow did not forget his bread and butter. There's some unbelievably cool moments of wirework and stunt martial arts on display, for comedic effect and for badass effect. Fun fact, the creators of Avatar: The Last Airbender said that it was one of their favorite movies of all time. It provided a lot of inspiration to them for the bending techniques seen in Avatar. It also has a manga that follows after the events of the movie, which looks insanely cool, and in the English dub of this film, Chow voices his own character, which is pretty damn funny in its own right, and I have a feeling it's because Chow had a hand in it.
Thank you for all your support. Thank you.
We're just janitors.
They are still our fans.
And that's a great segue on how the English dub release of this film came about. The movie was a mega hit on release in 2001, becoming Hong Kong's highest grossing Chinese movie of all time, raking in 61 million Hong Kong dollars. It got people's attention, and specifically Miramax Films, who purchased the US distribution rights in 2002. However, instead of an immediate release, they sat on the distribution rights to Shaolin Soccer for years, whilst the movie suffered from recuts, dubbings, musical changes, and reached an embarrassing new low by inserting the track "Everybody Was Kung Fu Fighting" in many attempts to try cajole American audiences. By the time Shaolin Soccer finally opened in spring of 2004, Miramax luckily opted for a subtitled version, but the movie failed to be a success in the States. All thanks to a certain gremlin-resembling fella who sat at the top of Miramax. I'll give you a hint. His name rhymes with Slimestein. Oh, but how the internet remains undefeated, and so do cinephiles. Because after word of mouth spread about how great this film was, people weren't going to just wait for a bastardized version of it. Shaolin Soccer garnered a rather large cult following through pirated copies and internet downloads, delivering a big fat f*** you to the people at Miramax. Not that I condone that sort of behavior. I credit Stephen Chow and this movie for getting me into the world of Hong Kong cinema, discovering artists like Wong Kar-wai, John Woo, more of Stephen Chow's work, as well as the classic Hong Kong era Jackie Chan flicks. If you haven't watched it, you have to watch it. It's an adventure into absurdity, a mixture of every kind of awesome. You might not know what exactly you're watching at moments, but in the end, you'll love it all the same. Then, maybe you'll understand why I say Shaolin Soccer is a movie like no other. Can't say the same about this video though, because I've got plenty of other movie, anime, and show-centric videos on my YouTube channel, Hashimoto. So if you could be so kind, check them out. Drop a like, hit that subscribe button, and as always, appreciate you watching.